Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, the only show on Indian television where you, the MSME, get center stage. This is ET Now, special daily initiative to give MSMEs and entrepreneurs the opportunity to be front and center on every industry and area that matters to you. Tonight on Direct Connect, we are answering all of your questions, and later on the show, we'll feature Tag8 on our Small Giant segment. Vishal, Sunil, thank you both very much for being with us here tonight. Let's take in our first query. This is coming to us from the line of Rajbhai Patel. Rajbhai, what's your question?
हम जो GIDC में फैक्ट्री है, हम पॉल्यूशन, गुजरात पॉल्यूशन कंट्रोल बोर्ड और सेंट्रल पॉल्यूशन कंट्रोल सब फॉलो अप करते हैं उसका जो रूल रेगुलेशन। इवन तो कभी कोई फॉल्ट आया और हमारा क्या गलती कुछ हो गया तो ये लोग क्या है अपना क्लोजर नोटिस देते हैं, फैक्ट्री बंद करने का नोटिस, और उसको इसकी गलती सुधारने के बाद तो ये लोग रिवोक करते हैं, फैक्ट्री को पावर और पानी सब चालू कर देते हैं। तो हमारा पूरा टाइम मतलब ये कोर्ट में ही चला जाता है। इंडस्ट्री चलाने के बजाय कोर्ट में मतलब छूटने के लिए पूरा मतलब उसमें हमारा पैसा चला जाएगा, ऐसा लग रहा है हमको। अभी लास्ट 2-3 महीने से ऐसा ही चालू कर दिया लोगों ने, कोर्ट मैटर चालू कर दिया है।
All right. Would you want to answer?
This is a very typical problem everyone faces where there is, where he manufactures or trade into various products of specialty nature. So, to cater to that, there are software systems available which are called GRC software, so which means governance, risk and compliance, which cater to the whole life cycle of, even manufacturing and delivering the product, which has got a specific requirement. For example, for food industry, the requirement of quality, requirement of labeling, requirement of, dispatching, everything is different. So you need to have a kind of a software in place to handle to that. Apart from that, there's a lot of documentation required for each of these products, whether it's a pharma product or a food product. So you need to have those kind of, even if you're exporting to a country, you need to know that whether it is in a negative list or a positive list, or whether what kind of documents are requirement for export. So these are all catered through GRC kind of software, which normally various ERPs are having as an add-on module to cater to these compliance requirements. It is very important because once you grow, it is humanly impossible to get the variety of documentation and compliance in place.
Sure.
And there are specialist consultants available who focus only on these particular aspects or areas, who will take over the entire headache of doing it. So, you can approach them as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are specialists, like our experts are saying, who will help you handle this query that you have. Rajbhai, thank you very much for calling in with that. Let's take in the next query. This is also a call coming to us from the line of R. Satish. Go ahead, Satish.
In India, we promote entrepreneurs and newcomers to start up or set up a business or industry. If going to start a business or develop a business to the next level, the challenges are huge and lot of government restrictions and regulations that we came across. For a service, you will be not able to compete to market situation because of the macro or giant MNC companies. So due to these irregularities, lots of SMEs lose their business.
Okay, so picking up maybe from where we left off in the last question, he's saying that regulation also perhaps something that needs to be fixed when it comes to ensuring, fake products, etc. What would you have to say?
See, these are classical case of unorganized sector creating those kind of products, even though we have intellectual property rights regulations, but the implementation of those is very poor in terms of, really penalizing those kind of market. So unless and until those regulations become strict, the unorganized market with the fake will continue. Now, having said that, in order to survive in this market, one need to create a kind of a product with ecosystems around it. There are users, there are promoters, there's a community, which will help in terms of spiraling the usage of the product, and that is where the company need to be very agile enough in terms of constantly innovating compared to the large company which are not able to innovate and bring the product in the market at a very fast pace. So nimble always helps, but large company will not be able to do that kind of activity. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, just 2 points here. One is that there is a silver lining to this dark cloud of regulation where, you know, Supreme Court of India has now become paperless. So things move very fast there, and you get an SMS for every next stage of your hearing or appeal. So in case now if you were to approach courts, you will find surprisingly a different response compared to what perception about the legal system that we have in our country. So definitely it is improving. That's point number one. Point number two is if you there is one regime where you know you can actually register your product or process and get a patent or a trademark around it, and that's that kind of can give you a very different level of value. You know, I have one of my friend who patented his food product. He patented 35 types of dosas, and now he's present in 6 continents. He had just one small shop somewhere in Mumbai, and now he's grown so big in a span of 4.5 years. Okay. So that is one thing which we can look at to protect his idea or his business, and seek legal protection for some period of time where, you know, he can stop the counterfeiters or local manufacturers to copy his product blatantly.
In fact, now the copyright and patent process has become very simple as well as cheaper. Government is giving 80% incentive in terms of those fees for required for copywriting and patent, for startups.
Okay, Satish, that's in response to your question. Let's take in one more query. D. Sachin is calling in with this question. Go ahead, Sachin.
We provide shared CFO services to the startup small and medium enterprises. My question to the jury were regarding the Startup India program. To be eligible, there is one clause which mentions that the companies should prove that its product or service or a process is completely new or significantly improved on the existing one. So isn't this particular clause a barrier for any organization or a company who wants to do something which is already been done? So for example, if I want to duplicate a Flipkart model for that matter.
So under the Startup India program, possibly, would you want to start?
You know, the whole objective of Startup India program is to fuel innovation, to fuel you know, new energy, new markets, new products. At the same time, there are ideas of disruptions which can create a lot of value in the marketplace. So, you know, making it generic defeat the purpose of Startup India, that any services, any businesses can be classified as a startup, because if they do that, that whole innovation is getting lost in this whole process. So
okay, so the emphasis is on innovation.
But Startup India is not just the end of the world. No, there are so many other options of gaining access to funds or technology or support that is required. Immediate idea for any SME is to get funds, and that's why it wants to get classified as startup. So a CGT MSc for a service like this is fair, you know.
Sure.
For a service like this. So there are many other avenues, not just Startup India, which I think Sachin can look at apart from Startup India, which can help him. So
okay, Sachin, do look at the other avenues present to you, is what our experts are suggesting. And since we have both of you gentlemen here tonight, 2 questions, and let me start with you, Sunil, and talk about innovation. The government is going all out saying, you know, Skill India, Digital India, etc. But what about the ecosystem? Because I remember even in one of our previous call-in shows, someone was saying the government is not giving us communication infrastructure, for instance. So what about the, you know, the ecosystem which exists for innovation today?
See, as we said earlier, in the startup momentum, there are financial incentives which are not enough for innovation. But for innovation, you need an ecosystem. Where ecosystem, there are service providers, there are support providers are there, which facilitates in terms of producing product, which facilitates in terms of designing the product, which facilitates in terms of testing the product in the marketplace. At the same time, this is also important that the product has a minimum viable kind of proposition in the market. So this all thing will all depend upon the ecosystem around that product, and that is where government has done some kind of exercise in terms of helping those, but there's a lot need to be done in terms of taking it forward.
Okay, so that's one aspect of it. He was talking about financial aspects as well of the ecosystem. I want to talk specifically on taxation. GST, of course, there are changes as we speak. So without maybe going too much into GST, I want to talk say one particular sector, which is the e-commerce, which now has come under the GST ambit. What is taxation looking like under Startup India, GST for e-commerce, for instance? Anything you can comment?
Okay. See, first of all, this is the first time where Indian government has acknowledged e-commerce as a separate sector from a tax perspective. Now, government really understands that e-commerce is a platform, and so the platform per se is not put to taxation, because otherwise it will kill the incentive that is available to these startups. So the only thing that they have is they don't have the impact, but they have incidence of taxation. So what do I mean by incidence is that their responsibility is to collect the tax from the participants on the platform and pay it to the government, particularly from the sellers. So when a buyer is purchasing, let's say, anything from an e-commerce platform through a third party seller, an e-commerce company is responsible to collect money from the buyer, retain the tax component and pay the balance money to the seller. This money retained then has to be paid to the government, and in technical words it is called TCS, tax collected at source.
Okay.
Which is like opposite of TDS.
There are two more points in terms of taxation. The startup gets exemption for 3 years. Second is also there is an exemption in the capital gains. Okay. So there are additional two benefits of taxation for startups.
Sure. All right, gentlemen, such a pleasure having both of you here tonight. Vishal, Sunil, thank you both very much for coming in. Time for a break. On Small Giants tonight, we'll feature Tag8. That's on the other side. Don't go anywhere. Back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight on Small Giants, we're bringing you the story of Tag8. When one loses valuables, the sense of loss is greater if there are memories associated with it. Tag8, India's first company targeting the lost and found service market, is now making ownership of your assets secure and efficient with the help of tags embedded with NFC tags. Karishma Manjani caught up with the founding partner of Tag8 to understand this innovation and understand how this technology is being used in products. Take a look.
Of thousands of passports are lost each year. Around 1,000 wallets are stolen every 2 minutes. 1 in 20 people are victims of car key theft. In today's fast-paced life, it is common to lose valuables. Losing your passport, key or wallet can be a nightmare. Meet Tag8, India's first comprehensive company targeting the lost and found service market, a company that ends your search. We met with Thomas Cook, a Tag8 product partner, to decode the benefits of Tag8.
See, fundamentally, meaning as a leader in the travel space, we've always looked at partnerships and opportunities with the products or services that actually enhance the customer experience continuously. So we see this as being a good opportunity to versus being insurance, for example. You do have insurance products, traditional insurance products, but that's really not the same as finding your own passport back, because, for example, visas, right? There are might be valid visas within those, which obviously have a disproportionate value. So I think this is a very different proposition in that sense. And like I said, our attempt is to, as our baseline says, travel smooth. Our attempt is to make customers enjoy their travel rather than be worried by all the inherent challenges around travel.
Tag8 aims to make ownership of assets secure and efficient. Now, getting us more details on this new piece of technology is Tag8's founder, Sanjay Chakrabarti. So, Sanjay, thanks for joining us. My first question to you is that tracing lost items, that's a fairly new idea to build a business around. What led to the birth of Tag8?
Well, we were looking at, and I'm like the prime poster boy of losing things, and really the idea came through that. My partner Alok Seth was the one who came up and we started discussing that, when people lose their items, which is almost practically very often, and then they really go through a hard time, if we could get a solution around it, that would be great. And we looked around the world. There are various companies who are doing different kind of things to really help this feature, and that's how Tag8 was born.
So let's run our viewers through how Tag8 works. What's the technology used behind these tiny tags?
Sure. So our entire system is based on a unique ID number. So every tag that you buy from us for across the product range, we use that unique identity number to relocate the person who owns that product. So for example, if I break it up into 3 categories, the first one being passport, which is our highest selling product. When you take the passport, all you need to do is register it with us. You lose it at any part of the world. We have global logistics tie-up with DHL, FedEx. We reach there immediately, we pick it up from the finder, we reward the finder, and we return the passport back to you. So that's as far as passport is concerned. As far as baggage is concerned, we actually have a tie-up with SITA on their World Tracer code. And in that, what happens is across 2,200 plus airports, wherever your baggage is found, the moment the SITA baggage person comes across it, we get a notification saying that the baggage has been found. The moment that happens, we again the same reverse logistics kind of kicks in. As far as all other products are concerned, we really have a simple tag that goes on to everything from laptop, phones, to even bags, you just name it, and you can use a product everywhere. And that's something that then the same way it works through, anyone finding it, we go out, reward that person and get it back through.
Let's talk about your reward program. Tag8 is essentially built around community of finders who get the product back to the right owner. What's the incentive here for me to return the product?
So we have 3 categories of incentive from our side. One is certification that goes from our end. Thanking people. It's all over social media. So that's in today's day and age. That's like a big thing that people look at. Second is we have a Tag8 gift hamper that goes across, and third is our products itself goes within that. So we have 3 separate segments.
So as we know, Tag8 helps people find lost items. But the general perception in India is that things once lost do not get returned. So how likely am I to find my lost luggage at the airport, and what's your return rate like?
So I think that's a great question, because I would first like to address the perception issue. Interestingly, Reader's Digest did a study around a year back. They actually looked at 16 countries and saw what was the return rate. They kept 12 wallets in different places, and Mumbai actually was the second most honest city, wherein 9 out of 12 wallets were returned. So Helsinki returned 11 out of 12, I guess that's expected. But you look at out of the 16 cities, more than 8 cities actually returned more than 6 of the items. So that itself shows the first is the perception issue. When you lose something, the one big challenge is that how do you know whose product is it and how do you return it? That's the first thing. Second is the whole challenge of returning it. And third is even the risk associated with returning. There's always that back and forth saying that, say if it's a baggage, you go and return it. Somebody says, oh, you know what, I had an iPhone there. It's not there right now. So Tag8 through our solution takes care of all these things, and therefore significantly increases the chances of return. Now at the end of the day, what are our return rates? For car keys is the highest, it's at 95%. For passport, it's at 90%. For luggage, it is around 65–70%. The electronic items, I must admit, is currently a bit low. It's in the range of 20 to 25%. Yeah, but if you even, your iPhone, you just put up a tag, and even if it gives you a 20% chance of return, that's not bad, given at what price point we come.
You had a long 20 years in the consulting profession before you started Tag8. Let's talk about a timeline for an entrepreneur. Do you think prior experience is a must before one starts his own business?
Frankly, if you see, most of the unicorns are started by people in the age group of 20 to 30, and therefore maybe, relatively we are behind the curve. But I strongly believe that there is no right or wrong age to get into entrepreneurship. It's the same as marriage. There is no right or wrong age to get married. It really depends on when do you think you're ready. More importantly, when do you find that idea that you're completely passionate about and you're willing to give 100% to it.
USA seems to have a broad market for these personal tracking devices. There's Style, there's Tracker and there's Homing Pin. The recent ABI research report said that the personal tracking devices market is going to reach 2 billion by 2021. What do you think is the future of this domain in India here?
Sure, I think, when you talk about real-time tracking, one of the other things that you need to be cognizant about is that a lot of people also have this aversion to someone knowing where your location is, because that goes hand in hand along with it. So, there are certain challenges around it, but overall, currently I see the future in the next 4-5 years, at least in India, the tracking being more used by corporates, but we believe there is yet time before that technology can be deployed for the consumer side of the business.
Let me quickly wrap this interview up. What's the future for Tag8?
We've already tagged more than 500,000 tags. So 500,000 items have been tagged. We really want to be the brand known for anything to be with lost and found across the globe. That really is an aspiration, and we hope to get there soon.
So let's help your lost valuables find you with Tag8.
Completely out of time then on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have anything you want to say to us, leadersoftomorrow@timesgroup.com is the email ID where you can send us your feedback. Tweet at me at Sunanda_J or LOT_ET now, or our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now, is where you can leave us your comments. You can also call us on that number you see on your screen. We love hearing from you, so do keep your feedback coming in. Thanks so much for watching. Have a good night.